संयुक्त राष्ट्रसङ्घको 56औं साधारण सभामा नेपालको प्रतिनिधित्व गरिसकेपछि नेशनल डेमोक्रेटिक इन्स्टिच्युटको आयोजनामा भएको कार्यक्रममा सी स्पान टेलिभिजन मार्फत अन्तर्वार्ता दिएर एक हिसाबको चर्चा पौडेलले बटुल्नु भएको थियो।
And weekly newspapers and magazines in Nepal. Mr. Paudel, NDI welcomes you to Washington and to this institute, and we're grateful for you joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. You know, I am Nepali, so I may not be able to pronounce better English. So you please kindly try to listen me, and if you don't understand, I will be very much glad if you repeatedly ask me, and I will try to clarify it. Thank you. Mr. President, I am grateful to the National Democratic Institute for organizing this program at a time when the media has focused on the recent development in Nepal. As is known to all of us, the worst ever palace massacre took place in Nepal on June 1st, 2001, which took the lives of their majesties, the king and the queen and the other members of their family. It was definitely a national tragedy. The 232-year-long institution of monarchy came under severe stress for the first time and added one more serious challenges of survival in a struggling democracy. The investigation committee set up by the king has submitted its report on the killings. We want to leave this tragic chapter behind and move on. Nepal, on the lap of mighty Himalayas, is strategically placed between two Asian giants, India and China. Its people of 23rd million live in the neighborhood of over 2 billion people. Both our neighbors are nuclear powers and aspire to be global powers. Nepal's foreign policy seeks to maintain and promote cooperative and good relations in the economic, social and other spheres on the basis of equality with neighboring and all other countries of the world. Nepal-America relations have been growing and widening ever since the formal establishment of diplomatic relations on April 25, I think it's 1947. America has displayed its keen desire and close interest in Nepal's peace, stability, development of economic and political institutions along democratic lines. We thank the government and the people of the United States for their moral support and assistance. With this brief start, let me now turn to the dynamics of the development in Nepalese politics. Nepal is a multi-ethnic and multilingual society. There are over 60 ethnic groups in Nepal. Nepal also provides shelter to over 20,000 refugees from Tibet and some 100,000 refugees from Bhutan. Cultures, festivals, clothing and languages differ among several ethnic groups, yet there is a close harmony and high degree of tolerance among these groups. Unity in diversity is Nepal's distinct characteristics. The institution of monarchy binds them all in national unity. King acts as a link with the past and gives continuity to the modernity. It has been a stabilizing and unifying factor in a country of diverse nature. Nepal's traditions have been more patrimonial, hierarchical, and feudalistic, and not democratic. The functioning of society and operation of political parties is to be viewed in this context. Despite constitutional and legal framework in its place, change in social behavior is limited over the years. People have voted mature. Half of the budget of the government to solve this problem, because those affected areas, districts are basically in the western region, and they are already backward districts, backward areas. So the budget which is allocated for their regular development, in the same amount, the additional money has been given to the district. I can't say exactly, but I can assure you that the country's majority part of the budget has been allocated to solve the insurgency, and explicitly that is not less than 25%. And in addition to that, that may go up to the 50%.
Are there places in the country, if I could just add one more question, are there places in the country where, given the insurgency, where this plan cannot be instituted because of Maoist control of the territory?
I don't see that kind of problem, because otherwise they would have said they have controlled certain district. That is not the condition. Maoists, they are hiding in the jungle, and at times they attack in the villages, and they create terrorism. That is their influence so far. But in every district there is a headquarters, there is a security personnel, administration, police, but the terror has been created some of the middle of the mountain areas, and they have not totally controlled in any district.
Just one more.
Yeah.
I apologize again.
Yeah.
In light of the recent action by the part of the government to address these challenges, or do you think that there are other things right now that should be taken, given the political environment in the country, and what, in your view, that the international community could do to assist existing efforts and any future efforts?
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe it is my understanding that we Nepali, we should try ourselves first. That is our priority. And secondly, we are lacking by resource, as you know. In solving the Maoist insurgency, we have, as Mr. Acting Ambassador said, there is a considerable amount of money which is allocated to the area. But that limited money has to spend in other fields also. So we have sort of budgeting. That is our problem, which we believe, and our friendly country, they have continuously helping us. We believe we need financial help. And before that, we have tried to reconcile with the forces inside of the country, so that we could solve that problem by negotiation first. And in the time when we won't be able to solve that problem with negotiation, then we need additional force, additional money for development and for other purposes. Only at that time we need resource, we need other assistance. Otherwise, from our limited resource, we are trying to solve our problems, and for that we have solicited political personalities. We have consulted persons from different political groups, and we have asked them to contact the Maoist and bring them in dialogue, so that they just gave up the arm attack and unnecessary their activities which they have started from last 5 years. And our basic focus is just to bring them in consultation. If they don't come, then we have to apply our government measures, as Mr. Ambassador said. So, in time, the government is materializing, executing the policies. Government may have necessary aid from the friendly country. Otherwise, yes. Otherwise, our priority is to bring them in dialogue. Our priority is to bring them dialogue first. Yeah. Mr. Ambassador, yeah.
Thank you. As has been stated earlier,
And 4 years old Rana autocracy, Nepal entered into the modernity and the Committee of Nations. In the first ever elections held in 1959, the Nepali Congress received 2/3 majority in the House of Parliament, House of Representatives. BP Koirala became the first Prime Minister. This marked a real shift of power from a traditional institutions of monarchy to liberal and elected representative. The Koirala government took far-reaching decisions to transform the traditional society into a modern one. Prime Minister's speed of reforms was considered too fast, not suitable to the soil and climate of Nepal by the feudalistic element. As you know, our country is basically feudal one. So at that time, there was very low level of consciousness. People were not well aware of their rights. So the feudal, they intervened the elected government, and they contributed for toppling the democratic government. Prime Minister's speed of reform was considered too fast-track, not suitable to the soil and climate of Nepal by the feudalistic element. King Mahendra, the late King Mahendra, was the father of late King Birendra. King Mahendra dismissed his progressive government in 18 months of its 5 years mandate, and all ministers, including the prime ministers, were jailed for no fault of theirs. Communist and feudal forces aligned with the palace. A closed system named Panchayat was introduced. It continued till the spring of 1990. Popular movement of 1990 under the leadership of Nepali Congress restored the democracy. Constitution promulgated on November 9, 1990 provided the parliamentary form of government, multi-party democracy with constitutional monarchy and independent judiciary. Since then, Nepal has had 3 free and fair parliamentary elections and 2 local elections. 3rd local elections due in a year's time. These elections created a layer of over 4,000 democratic institutions from national to village and block levels. As the democratic process spread and widened, forces inimical to it from extreme left and right poles emerged. Today, they pose a threat to the democratic process. The attacks are from within and outside. Maoist group is involved in violent activities, killing innocent peoples. Brutal punishment of party activists, cutting off hands and legs of mainly that of Nepali Congress and policemen, the government officials. Power centers. The power centers are basically widespread. Young democracy with its democratic institutions spread over 4,000 villages across the country. It is trying to work with these centrifugal forces in partnership. Democratic government is fighting with several problems all at a time, concentrating on the poverty, the root cause of social evils. In this context, the role of royal palace, political parties, army along with some other informal structures and institutions and their management became more significant. Parliamentary deadlock. Nepal's democracy is facing one of its most crucial tests. Parliament was not allowed to meet and do people's business in the last session without any reason. Constitutionally, elected Prime Minister was obstructed from speaking on the floor of the House, and opposition parties chose to prevent the Parliament from passing bills meant to fight insurgency, corruption, and the social injustice. Opposition party, Communist Party of Nepal, UML is a main opposition in our country. By the way, I will let you know, in our country, we have limited political parties who are very much committed to democracy. And we are the only party, basically we are only party whose commitment is very much serious toward democracy other than the Nepali Congress.